this mean it's over?
Does this mean he likes me?
Are butterflies good?
Am I ever gonna meet someone?
I'm tired of swiping.
Am I normal?
It's not that no one is serious. It's that everybody is distracted and burned out. Can you relate?
You can keep waiting for the fairy tale, or you can get on board with the new rules of relationships. If you've seen me on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, then you know this ain't your mama's love advice. This is Dates and Mates with Damona Hoffman. Hey lovers, welcome to a special masterclass episode on dating burnout. Every now and then I like to do these masterclasses to give you a deep dive on one specific topic. And it's usually driven by what I'm hearing out in these dating streets. And look, all summer, the hot topic that people wanted to talk to me about was dating burnout. I was interviewed for articles. I was on national news. I was reading the questions you all were submitting. And it was clear that we are facing a dating burnout crisis. So first of all, let's define burnout. What is burnout? According to the APA Dictionary of Psychology, burnout is defined as physical, emotional, or mental exhaustion accompanied by decreased motivation, lowered performance, and negative attitudes towards oneself and others. Is any of this sounding familiar so far? All right, so now dating burnout. It's basically all of those things, but sometimes both caused and affected by dating. So why is dating burnout such an issue right now? Well, let's look at how we are dating today. Many of you have heard me say that this is the best time ever in history to be single. And it is. I stand by that. But at the same time, it's also the most complex time ever in history to be single. Most people have 3 or more dating apps downloaded on their phone. Whether you're using them or not, they're there. They're mentally taking up space, and they're actually taking up space on your phone too. And we also have constant communication coming in from everywhere else. We have emails, we have Slack messages, we have WhatsApp. We are inundated with constant communication. And this has led to a state of overwhelm in our daily lives. And that overwhelm in our lives has led to a rise in ghosting and a lack of focus in dating. So it's not so much that we're dealing with F-boys. Like I hear this a lot. Everybody on the apps is just looking for short-term relationships. Nobody is serious. It's not that no one is serious. It's that everybody is distracted and burned out. Can you relate? And you couple that with how the apps have significantly changed in the last year. They all made a hard left turn into monetization and prioritizing monetization over the user experience because it was a business imperative. We were riding dating apps on VC money, and same thing like with rideshare apps, for example. Like it used to cost me $20 to go to the airport, maybe 25 if I was like feeling really generous with my tip, right? And now it costs the same ride cost about $50. And I know we're feeling it's not just the impacts of inflation, but it's the impacts of things actually costing what they cost to bring them to you, right? $25 was too cheap for me to go to the airport. And free was too cheap for you to use Tinder. But on the other hand, the pendulum has swung so far in the other direction where it feels really burdensome. It feels really crappy to have to pay something like $20 a week to get the features on a dating app that you once had for free. And so a lot of what I heard over the last year was a rejection of this change in dating apps and a feeling like, well, we just want to find it elsewhere. Like there's got to be a better way. If dating apps are broken, then I just want to meet my person, quote, organically, IRL. And the pendulum swung really hard in the other direction towards in-person events. But let's be real. As you've heard me say on the show before, dating is a set of learned skills. And with any skill or any muscle you work, if you take a break and you stop using that skill or you stop working that muscle, what happens? It begins to atrophy. We become less good at it. It becomes less strong. So throughout the pandemic, we spent a lot of time by ourselves. We spent a lot of time building relationships in different ways. We didn't spend time approaching people out in the wild. We didn't spend time saying yes to large scale events where we might meet our person. We did the opposite. We hid. We stayed in our homes. We didn't want to be in large groups of people. So we need to just accept that we're in this period of retraining, regrowing those skills, and accept that we might be a little bit awkward and out of practice. And we might rather just stay home when we get that invitation or when we see that ad pop up for a singles event. But we're not getting to the connection that we all deeply desire if we're just rejecting dating apps, but not doing the actions and not building the skills that we actually need for in-person dating either. And look, I know it all feels really exhausting. And you may be wondering, this all sounds like a lot, Damona. Is it even worth it? Yes, it's worth it because I truly believe that the person that you partner with is the most important decision you will ever make in your life. It affects everything else from your mental health to your finances, to your family, to where you live, to sometimes your job. There's so many things that hinge on this primary relationship in your life. So it can't be the thing that we get burned out on and push away. We can't just stay comfortably single because we're not comfortable. We're in tremendous discomfort. If you're in burnout, let's go back to the original definition. If you're in burnout, you're going to be experiencing decreased motivation, lowered performance, and negative attitudes towards yourself and others. That is not okay. We can't just accept that because I know it's on the other side. And I know that it is worth it. In fact, I just had a listener named Lila pop into my IG Live this week to say that she's now dating her boyfriend who she met on Tinder a few months ago, thanks in part to following my tips. And I'm telling you, I didn't even ask for this endorsement. She just popped in the live to tell me that what I'm teaching you here on this podcast, it really does work. And I know that this method works if you can just crack the door open a little bit and let me in. I have the fire extinguisher to douse out this dating burnout and your love life can rise up again. So let's start with a little state of the union. Here are the facts. Yes, singles are down on dating apps. You've heard. It's funny the number of people that send me these articles like, did you hear? People don't want to use dating apps. I'm like, yeah, duh. I've been doing this for 18 years and this is the most dissatisfied I've ever heard people with dating apps. And believe me, I've been through a lot of phases with online dating. Dating app usage is down year over year. Tinder reported an 8% drop in paying users. And this is even after they've rolled out all of these different paying tiers. But what I see is that people are not actually leaving the apps entirely. They're still on your phones, aren't they? Instead, what people are doing, I call it zombie dating. Zombie dating is when you're on the apps, but you're just zombie swiping. You're not really engaging. You're just doing it sort of as a pastime, the way that you might scroll TikTok. You're stuck in these endless text threads. You're frustrated with the apps and the features that you have available when you once had the whole candy store available to you. And now you're having to pay for services that you got for free. And on top of that, you're getting ghosted at never before seen rates, right? So should you leave the apps? Well, not so fast. First, and I know this is a controversial suggestion if you are feeling burned out on dating apps. The fix is not to leave the dating app entirely. The fix is actually to practice dating hygiene. I know it's such a sexy word. Dating hygiene means using the apps more mindfully, tracking what's really happening with your matches and dates, and eliminating go nowhere connections. It does nothing for you to keep these dead zombie text threads going. If you're just getting like breadcrumbs and good morning texts, that's taking up valuable emotional real estate and real estate in your dating app that you don't need. Unmatch, thank you, and release. But really looking at where are you putting effort in your dating life? You may be getting burned out because you are not using the tool of the app effectively, or you're letting other people steal your energy. You're letting these dating app digital vampires suck you dry in go nowhere conversations. And if you instead tightened up your dating profile so that it attracted the people who were best suited for you and actually works to turn off the people that you don't want to be in a relationship with, the people that are going to waste your time. And we're not getting into all of the dating profile tips. There's plenty of Dates and Mates episodes that can give you the suggestions on that. And you can also get my profile starter kit that's on my website that will help you figure out how to make your profile a magnet. But then you really need to go the next step and figure out, where am I showing up? How am I showing up? And what results am I getting? So you're actually tracking how many views your profile is getting, how many people comment on which profile photos, how many first dates you're having in a week, how, when you show up differently or you prepare differently, how many of those first dates then turn into second dates. Really track what's happening in your dating life. And I know if you're in a place of burnout, it sounds like, oh, but Damona, I just told you I'm exhausted and you just suggested more work. But what I'm trying to do is to get you to be more strategic, because there's a lot of wasted time in the dating process. And I know you know what I'm talking about. So I want to eliminate the wasted time so that your efforts feel more fulfilling. And that is the first fix for dating burnout. The next fix for dating burnout, and when I say dating burnout now, I'm really talking about also this feeling of apathy. I mean, how many people have you met where you're just like literally could care less if the date goes well, if it doesn't go well, they're not really sweating it because they've had so many dating disappointments. Maybe I'm talking to you. Maybe that's happened to you. So again, counterintuitive advice. The antidote to apathy is empathy. And if you can connect into not only just your experience of being in that state of dating burnout, but what is the other person's experience of you, of the date that you are co-creating together. And this concept is actually a core tenet of my book, F the Fairy Tale. We need to let go of the stories of how it's supposed to go. And we need to focus on connection, because this feeling of apathy is going to overtake us and going to create more dating burnout. And that is going to cause more withdrawal. And the best fix for that is real human connection and interaction. So let me give you a couple of tips. This is a part where you maybe pause the podcast, get out a pen and paper, or start taking notes in your phone. Ways to connect in person and foster connection. Because when we are burned out, the best way to be replenished, first of all, is to connect. So first of all, I want you to form your connector circle. You've heard me talk about this on the podcast before. Engage your community to make introductions for you. And this is not necessarily your first degree connections. These may be friends of friends. These may be work friends. These are probably the people that you have not yet asked for setups. Because if they are your first degree connections, they've probably already gone through their roster for you. Or if they knew someone, they would have already made the introduction. But the first piece is to really plug back into your community. I know there's so much shame around singlehood today. And what we want to do is to pull back, to push away. Like, oh, that person's in a relationship. I don't want to see them being all lovey-dovey. I'm just going to push it all away and retreat. But the connection you desire, it's actually already around you. You have to first recognize the people that are on your team that want to help you out. Next, you need to adopt an attitude of yes. Say yes to things you wouldn't normally do, even if they scare you a little. So I had a client that I just sent to a mixer at a museum, and it was way out of her comfort zone. But through those little moments, those little shifts where we overcome our fear, it becomes a little bit easier and a little bit easier. And then it actually becomes fun. So some places you might want to say yes: parties, classes, lectures, fitness groups. There are so many ways to connect, both online and off. And now at this point in post-pandemic land, we have more opportunities than we did before. So say yes to that. Rejoin activities, start a new hobby, join a new group. Also, in-person events. Speed dating is back in a big way. And alternative dating events are popping up. So there's like Pitch My Friend events where you get a friend to do a PowerPoint presentation about you and how great you are to a room full of other supportive people and hopeful singles. There's the chaotic singles party, which my friend Cassidy Nash Davis started out of a frustration with dating apps to just get people back together and reconnecting. Look into the events that are happening in your area. I use Eventbrite with my VIP clients. It's a great resource to see what's happening that's right under your nose. Now we can reclaim our power and replenish after burnout. Number one, we can create a comprehensive dating plan. All right, so build a dating plan that incorporates both online and offline methods. I'm literally talking about a plan. I'm literally talking about something that you write down on paper. And if this is something that you need help with, reach out to us about coaching because this is what we do all day long. And it will provide variety when you're feeling fatigued of either going out or swiping. It has to be a multi-pronged approach. And you have to have clear dating goals and put guidelines around how much time you're able to invest in swiping, how long you'll let a message thread go before moving into the real world. Hot tip, it's no more than 1 week. That's my advice. But really start to track your dating progress and then implement, but really come up with a plan that will spell success for you in dating. We tend to just go to the end game, like, well, I want a serious relationship, but we don't really think about, well, how are we getting from where we are right now to that person coming into our life? Because most of the time, it's not that old adage, you'll find it when you least expect it. That's just not how I've seen it happen for my clients. So once you have the plan, then you can start to track your dating progress and know which things you need to double down on that get the most engagement. You can know which first date venues you enjoy most. You can know how many of your first dates are leading to more. You can start to iterate too. Like I talk in one of my programs about building a trail for love. Track, review, adjust, implement those changes, and then you can leap forward in your dating life. And when you're tracking, you actually can see the progress in real time. Clients will tell me they're disappointed because they haven't met their person because they're focused only on the end goal. And when you're in the thick of it, you can barely remember that a month or two ago, you had 0 dating prospects or that your dating goal was just to have a date a week and you're crushing it. I have clients right now who are literally crushing it. And I hear from so many people that are frustrated and in pain on Instagram in my DMs and calling into the show. And I know what's possible on the other side of doing this dating plan and then building this trail for love, tracking, reviewing, adjusting, implement, and leaping forward. So celebrate those small wins. Celebrate those little leaps instead of just focusing on the long-term goal, whether that's marriage or something else. Another suggestion, get a dating accountability buddy. Look, I know navigating the dating landscape can be challenging, but it doesn't have to be a solitary challenge. So you can enlist the help of a dating accountability buddy. This is someone you can confide in about your experiences, someone who will cheer you on when the weather is cold and you're like, Damona, I just want to stay home with my cat and my book. They're the person that will be your cheerleader, that will make sure that you're taking these steps that I recommend, that you are approaching cuffing season with this irresistible energy of enthusiasm and empathy. Because I know this person that you hope to meet is out there hoping that they will cross paths with you. And if you get stuck in dating burnout, that will keep you from your future meet cute love story happening. My last piece of advice before I send you off back into the dating world is to quiet the naysayers. There will always be someone out there who says you can't, someone who will commiserate with you, a nosy relative who keeps questioning your efforts. Like, have you really tried to meet someone? Yes, Grandma, I have. You will always have a negative friend who will keep reminding you of everything that is wrong in your love life and theirs. And you got to put them on mute. I explained this to a client recently that she's in my nest right now. She is being nurtured and cared for in dating. And she's not going to hatch right away because she still needs to be protected. So if you're not technically in my nest as one of my clients yet, you're still in my dates and mates nest. And I have to remind you to do this for yourself. Literally snooze or unfollow accounts that make you compare and feel like crap. Set up boundaries for your friends and family. Let them know that while they love you and they want what's best for you, what they're doing and what they're saying, it doesn't really make you feel supported. And that the result of that is that you're going to be keeping the details closer to the vest for now, that you'll save that for the people who you're dating accountability buddy, the people that can approach you with empathy and compassion. Dating burnout doesn't just start from within. There are external sources for the burnout, and you have more control over how much fuel you give them than you realize. So I hope this episode gave you enough fuel to reframe your dating burnout. If you don't yet have a copy of F the Fairy Tale, you can still get your hardcover at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, or your local bookstore. And of course, you can listen on Audible or read it on your Kindle too. And there are so many more tips, tools, and resources there for you inside of F the Fairy Tale. Our listener, Stephanie, actually calls it a perfect guide. She gave us a 5 out of 5-star review on Amazon. She said, I discovered this book through Damona's brilliant podcast. I love her energy, insight, and encouragement. This book has helped me so much in my dating journey and has instilled in me more direction and clarity on what I'm looking for when dating. She gives you the tools and insights to have confidence in yourself and intuition. Thank you for sharing your light and wisdom with us, Damona. Thank you for sharing your review, Stephanie. As you just heard, Stephanie was already a listener of this podcast, but the book really helped unlock the next level for her. And if the book unlocks a new level for you, I really want to hear about it. If you've read F the Fairy Tale, please let us know what parts resonated for you. Leave me a review on Amazon, Goodreads, or Barnes & Noble so I can shout you out on a future episode. And if this week's Dating Burnout Masterclass was helpful for you, do yourself a favor and be empathetic. Do a friend a favor by just hitting share. Share this with someone you love. Maybe your dating accountability buddy. Say, yes, we are locking arms and going into cuffing season together. We are taking control of our dating burnout. We're not letting the dating apps run our lives. We are in the driver's seat of our love lives starting right now. Thank you for listening. And until next week, I wish you happy dating.